What's up, fellow internet denizens? I love legendary creatures and monsters, and I especially love the ones who are absolutely harmless. I refer to this type of monster as fellas. Let me explain. Fairies are terrifying and will steal your eyeballs if you sleep on the wrong tree stump, but the tooth fairy is completely harmless and only ever gives children money in exchange for a recently lost tooth. That sort of thing. So without further ado, let's talk about some legendary monsters who are just friend-shaped. In the Pacific Northwest, there resides a curious type of mollusk that lives not in the water, but in the trees. Well, sort of. They're born in the water and give birth there, but that's about it. The Pacific Northwest tree octopus is around 30 centimeters from head to arm tip, and they live outside of the water because the Olympic rainforest is just so misty that they don't desiccate upon leaving. They feed upon frogs, eggs, and mice, though they also have a hankering for candy corn. They navigate the trees by swinging from branch to branch like Tarzan. Now, the Pacific Northwest tree octopodes are severely endangered due to pollution, logging, overexploitation from the fashion industry, and a recent uptick in the Sasquatch population, if you could believe that. Due to all of these factors, the Pacific Northwest tree octopus is the only species of its genus left, all others having become extinct as of 1998. Now, this monster actually originated on a 1998 website that was designed to look like an educational web page, but was actually a test. You see, Dr. Donald Liu and his team wanted to test the critical thinking skills of young students with regards to what they find on the internet. Unfortunately, more students than you would hope for thought that the tree octopus is real. At least according to a 2011 survey. Despite all of this, I think the website where the tree octopods reside is still fun to explore. It harkens back to a time before deepfaking when all you needed to fool someone was a cleverly designed webpage and a talent for photo editing. Let's move a little to the east now, to Wyoming. When I was 9, my family took a road trip to several national parks culminating in a few days at Yellowstone. On our way there was this gas station we stopped at where there was a massive taxidermied rabbit about the size of a small horse with a large pair of antlers. I was absolutely fascinated, and I think this, along with a book of Miwok folklore, was what got me into studying mythical creatures. This giant rabbit was a jackalope. The jackalope first appeared around the 30s when some hunters bagged a rabbit and had some extra antlers lying around and decided to mount the antlers on the rabbit's head, like you do. Reports of horned rabbits appeared in the area beforehand, but none were called jackalopes until this specific taxidermy was made. Now, horned rabbits are oddly common in mythology. The Germans have their Wolpertinger, and the Arabs have their Almiraj. Why are they so common? Well, it turns out rabbits are susceptible to a type of wart that turns into weirdly shaped horns. But worry not, as scientists have used these warts as a part of their research for an HPV vaccine. Jackalopes are not only cute, but they're also helpful. Let's go to Maine now, which is something I never imagined would come out of my mouth. Maine is guarded by a giant ripped eagle man with a moose's head, who the Penobscot call Pamula. Pamula watches over the mountains and especially loves one mountain called Katahdin, where he helps lost travelers and scares away anyone who tries to misuse the mountain or climb too high at the wrong time. He lives in Katahdin during the winter and then flies away during the spring, taking off with a great roaring noise and allowing travelers to explore his mountain during that time. While Pamula might seem enigmatic at first, he's not as inhuman as you might think. He gets sick, he likes to go rafting, he has misadventures, and he even has a wife. Let's cross the pond to the British Isles, where the next fellow lives. My cat would be very upset with me if I didn't mention catsiths. Catsiths are Scottish fairy cats who are black with a white patch on their chest and about the size of a large dog. They only ever walk on all fours in front of people, preferring instead to walk on two legs when they think no one's looking. Some say that they're not really a fairy, but actually a witch that turned into a cat one too many times and is now stuck that way forever. Either way, it is not wise to trust a catsith, as they are very tricksy and love to play games. Every Samhain, Scottish people would leave a dish of milk out for passing catsiths to drink out of, and if they failed to do this, the catsith would drink all the milk from their cows and dig up some plants and maybe knock some things over. Some people actually speculate that the catsith is based on a Kellis cat, or a hybrid between domestic cats and Scottish wild cats. Now, a little to the east, in the Slavic corners of Europe, there is a type of brownie called a domovoi. Domovoi are small, hairy old men, kind of like gnomes. The richer you are, the hairier your domovoi. They like to live in the nook behind your oven, and they will help you clean and keep you safe if you maintain a somewhat clean house already. If they don't like how you're taking care of your house, though, look out for broken dishes. Also, if they really don't like you, Well, they live behind your oven. In Persia, giant antlions dig for gold, or giant ants with lion pelts. Who knows? Around 430 BC, Herodotus described giant red ants the size of small foxes who had leopard pelts and 4 locust legs. Some other writers from around that time instead used the word antlion to describe them. Now, in most descriptions, locals would often follow these giant, bizarrely shaped ants and steal their gold before hightailing it out of there on their camels before the ants noticed. Now, until recently, people never really knew what Herodotus and friends were talking about, but some people believe that around this specified area, there is a type of marmot that likes to burrow in a range of mountains known for their gold. Sometimes local Monaro people would find gold dust in said marmot burrows. Now, why would marmots be mistaken for ants? Well, at the time, the Persian word for marmot loosely translated to mountain ant, likely due to the fact that these small critters dig large networks of holes. Now, a few thousand miles to the east in China, there is a white tiger with dragon horns called a baitze who lives in an isolated mountain. The Japanese species is called the hakutaku, and it's a lot more terrifying. The hakutaku is an ox with 3 eyes on its face, 4 horns on its head, 4 horns on its body, and 6 eyes on its butt, 3 on each cheek. Both versions are incredibly wise, only coming out of isolation to give advice to rulers that they see potential in, and occasionally just to eat nightmares. Hakutaku are also very knowledgeable about every monster in the world, and are said to have passed down to the Yellow Emperor a book containing all of their knowledge about every single animal, real and imaginary, and how to deal with them, though this book has long since been lost. This next creature is also from Japan. If your man is bald, doesn't like fishing, and recites sutras, that's not your man. That's an iwanabozu. In Japan, these fellas are charfish that decided to leave their watery homes behind for a more ascetic life, protecting the places that they once called home. When they do this, they become somewhat more human-like, sprouting arms and legs and donning a monk's robe. They come up to people who overfish, particularly fishermen who poison rivers and lakes with capsaicin in order to get fish to float to the surface, and then they give them a firm talking to about the value of life, the ecosystem, and how poisoning so many animals at once is a sin. Then, a few days later, the fishermen will realize that the monk that they spoke to was a fish. This isn't limited to char, though. Sometimes trout and eels can become monks, though in those stories they end up being caught. To the south, all the way in Australia, there's a small fluffy critter who delivers chocolate eggs to all the little boys and girls in order to celebrate one of the most gruesome deaths in history. I'm talking, of course, about the Easter bilby. Yep, the Australians have their own Easter critters. Bilbies are small, large-eared marsupials that are largely being crowded out by invasive rabbits, so as part of an effort to promote their conservation, Australians decided to turn to bilbies as Easter mascots, rather than their non-native counterpart. Finally, let's go to Hawaii, where the menehune live. The menehune are a group of small, talented masons from a nearby floating island who are said to have built many parts of Hawaii. There are some theories I've seen that the menehune were a group who migrated to Hawaii before the current Hawaiians came, and they were just people who built several walls and ponds. Some people say that they fled to their floating island when more Polynesian folks came to Hawaii, while others say that they still live there, making wonders and playing tricks on people. If you find a group of them, you're not supposed to watch them as they work, as they're very shy. So those are all the fellas that I could think of for now. I, like the Hakutaku, wish to someday write a book containing every legendary creature. However, that's gonna take a while to make, and I will need to talk to a lot of people from all over the world. Until then, though, I think I will stick to talking about creatures, among other things, here, while I compile data. I've been Alien Daydreamer, and I am out. Bye!